We're in the village of Stepanky in the Vinnytsia region of Ukraine, where we've just had a fascinating interview with Mykola and his wife Nina, who were adolescents during the war. The interview lasted 2.5 hours, and he came up with some really interesting details on what happened in this area. Just behind us is the grave, where according to the archives there are around 100 to 130 victims of Jews who were taken here from all around the region. And with me now I've got Oksana, who's one of our translators, and Patrice, who's our research director. They're going to go through Mykola's testimony with us. So what can you tell us about what Mykola's told us this morning?
Mykola told us many interesting details and moments, because the good thing, he was born in 24, so he was already a young adult during the war. And so he remembers that here were brought Jews from Bukovina here in the village, and they were set at the beginning in the building of the club, like the cultural center, where many of them died from typhus. Mm-hmm. And then they were brought here in a pigsty on this side. So we will go through it, and so they, on this so the pigsty were on the territory of the kolkhoz, and we can see them there. And many of them again died from typhus, and they were buried at the place where we started the interview. And then some of them had the opportunity to live in houses of some villagers.
So just behind us is the pigsty where the Jews were kept before, and when they died either of hunger or of typhus, as Patrice said, they were buried in this grave just behind where we were just before. Oksana, what can you tell us about Nina's testimony, Mykola's wife, because she was during the war in another town, wasn't she? She wasn't here.
Yes, she was in the Kupay Gorod, and there there was a ghetto with a lot of Jews confined, and several times she saw a lot of carts with the corpses that was brought from the ghetto to the place where they were buried somewhere else. And as well, she told us that her mother came to the ghetto, and he gave something to the guards, and for that they let her to bring the Jewish family to her house sometimes, from time to time. There was Yosko, there was one of the child of this family.
Okay.
So yeah,
something to add.
According the archives, we had the Soviet archives, about 300 Jews were brought here in this village in Stepanky, and more than 130 of them died. So that's, we guess, the ones who were buried there. So again, like in the first village we were today, it's kind of same context. The Romanian are not so many here. It was only 2 Romanian gendarmes and some policemen and a mayor elected by the population at the beginning of the war. And so the Jews could go through the village quite easily, and could sometimes, if they were considered as useful for the village, they could work and have some food, and have sometimes even to live in the houses, like one Jewish man used to live for some time in Mykola's house. Mm. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of Romanian occupation where Jews are starving, and they just
they're kind of left to their own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just worth noting as well that there's no memorial at this site.
Yeah.
If you can have a look up there.
Mm.
Yeah, and so according Mykola's and his wife Nina, Nina was for a long time after the war, the mayor of the village, and she said that they said, both of them, that the corpses are still here. They were not reburied.
Yeah. And they said as well that the corpses were buried in the single graves,
Yeah.
but not in the
The mass grave.
mass grave.
Yeah, like the village we were before.
Yeah,
in
Gorai.
Gorai.
It's really rare for us to have witnesses who were this age during the war and to give us such detailed testimony about what happened, not just in this village but in the surrounding region. So we're really happy that we were able to do this with Mykola and Nina.